to see how the game is played?
No.
Is it something that should be a game, though?
An exercise? You want to use defund the police as one?
Well, just thinking about what it looks like.
Yeah.
What does it look like
to
see like
community.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white men with a sign that says there's only 2 genders?
What does whiteness have to do with the gender shit? What does it have to do? It's like he's reaching. Why not just say like white straight guys? Why not reach white straight affluent guy? Why not just keep adding them on? Like,
You could have been like the Westboro Baptist Church for all.
What is white?
who cares? What even if the Westboro Baptist just wanted to set up, who cares?
Why did you identify us on the basis of our race?
Well, are you the best people to be hosting that dialogue about?
No, but you.
Be representative of that community.
Okay, but I asked you a question. Why did you identify me and these people on the basis of their race?
What it looks like, right? Kind of like the activating, triggering aspect of it all.
So you think that it's morally acceptable to identify people on the basis of their race?
It's not a moral question. It's a matter of like the fact that
It's just about power and privilege.
Yeah.
And identity and representation, right? So if you had a bunch of queer folks out here asking those kinds of questions and there was...
Well, how do you know we're not queer?
That's true, I don't know, but there's not sort of a representative, holistic, inclusive feeling, especially from up on high. We're looking down and we see this statement being made. We're curious about it. We're also just worried about the harm being done to passersby.
What is the harm?
So there are
What's
people
the
who
harm?
people who went home because it was so triggering and
We have some
activating.
students.
So I think
had to leave.
They got
the end result is
triggered.
You know you're on film, right?
that is totally fine.
Okay.
There are real people who are really hurt by this statement. So I think
What were they hurt about?
question that because that's not how they identify, and so it seems like a really triggering statement to just say there are 2 genders if that's not been your experience.
That's triggering. It's not even a psyop. I can't even say it's a psyop. These are probably all real people.
So it's very harmful and very hurtful, and there's human lives that were affected. So I think that's the message we're trying to send is to maybe consider the questions that you're asking or posing before you.
Bro,
give
these
your
things are
thoughts.
unkillable.
Are you curious about like what we're bringing to you at all, or do you have?
I'm thinking about, I'm extremely curious and I'm extremely respectful. I genuinely respect the fact that you came as opposed to 7 or 8 of you giving me the middle finger and saying, fuck you to me. So yeah, so if,
What do you gain from this? Like, what is your reason that you just want to cause trouble, or like why are you here?
so I'm fascinated, I do street epistemology. And I'm fascinated if
Wait, who is this guy? Street epistemology? I've heard of this guy's videos before, I just haven't watched them.
people, epistemology is from the Greek, basically how you know what you think. Okay, so street epistemology is taking it out of the university and bringing it into the street. So I'm very curious. Okay, a sidewalk or a.
Is this a street? What are you saying, you fucking...
Campus. This
isn't street epistemology. You're doing this on the
Okay, if you don't like the word street, you can call it plaza epistemology, whatever. But the idea is you take it out of the university and you see if the reasons that people have for things justify their confidence in it. So this is a confidence scale. We can do this with any claim you want. We can do this with a mayor of the city. We can do this with should the United States be funding Ukraine? I think it's $800 billion. Should the United States, is it more important to control inflation or employment? And we put people on a spectrum. They start on, let me just explain again. So you asked, so I'll tell you. So what am I gonna do?
I think what we're just saying is, and I think those questions are thought-provoking and important questions to ask folks in our community. I think what we were struck by was the statement on the board that it wasn't a question and that there was no context clues for folks, especially trans folks, to know that this was not your belief, but this is more of a thought experiment.
Okay, would you be more comfortable if it was a question? Like if I put a question mark?
Sure.
Okay, I'm more than happy to put a question at the end.
A question is a question and not a statement.
More than happy to.
Some type of warning or a statement of like what you're doing on another board so people can walk by and like try and understand that. Because from afar it looks...
This is a thought experiment.
Yeah.
Why are you so triggered? Why are you so soft?
This is what we're asking people.
I'm more than happy to do that.
And then that way it can kind of...
I'm more than happy to do that. I only have one board, but I'm more than happy to put on this is a thought experiment and put a question mark.
you write that.
If I put a question mark, I could. I don't know. I'm worried that people wouldn't be able to see it, but I'm more than happy to. If I put a question mark at the end, and then I put another one, it's not really. It is a thought experiment, but it's more of an exercise / game starts thought experiment. If I put that on the end, would all of the
Anger?
concern vaporize?
No.
No, probably not, because we're talking about real humans with their lived experience and their positionality, their identities.
So it doesn't even matter.
I might have a very different personal feeling walking by because it doesn't target my identity specifically. So we're just sort of here to sort of advocate and elevate who might be harmed by a statement like
What do you mean by harmed?
harmed.
Yeah.
Well, people who have been like historically and currently oppressed, right, by dominant systems, patriarchy, whiteness, masculinity, all of the systems that harm people who don't fit within those.
I gotta go back to school. I'm gonna only stream 5 hours a day. I want to go to school. I want to go to college. I just want to be around these people. I need to be in the. It feels like infinite debates. I feel like you can argue with every single school administrator you walk by in a hallway. Like, these people are. This is the most soy shit I've ever heard in my entire life.
Sort of more.
Do they even talk about anything, or is it all just going to
That's why you
be?
want a question and not a statement.
Can I also ask, like,
Now, I just want an answer. That's why you want a question, not a statement?
I think a question is an invitation, right?
More than happy to make it a question.
Participate in this conversation. It's
More than happy to do that.
you're representing, with your identity, a belief, perhaps especially when it's a statement. And so what it looks like is you're out here saying there are two genders, and then anyone who doesn't fall within those two sort of binary boxes.
I'm more than happy to do that.
That's where the harm comes from.
More than happy to say this is a thought experiment. No, let me just finish. More than happy to do that. But it seems that if I did that, that would not be enough.
You might have.
But then
to
I just
I might not be the person to, again, I think asking folks who hold those identities, sort of, if that is enough. So asking queer students, asking trans students, asking gay students, if you're asking about race or poverty or religion, or people who are part of those groups can really inform you better than I can.
You wanted to say, I wanted to hear her through.
No, I get it. And I'm just wondering, like, are any of you all, like, trained professionals in trauma-informed care? Like, if a transgender individual were to come to the space and participate, and then there was a triggering response where they needed emotional support, like, are you ready?
These are the. Bro, really? Really? Come on. No shot is this real. No shot. Are you this fucking weak? This can't be the case, right?
Ready to support that, because this conversation can bring up a lot of emotions, and the people that are kind of working within it could be really triggered. But if no one's there as like an advocate or support, it could be pretty detrimental to the community you're asking. So I just want to like frame that. If you're not having like an advocate there as someone that can like be an emotional support or regulation for the people that are potentially harmed or triggered in this conversation, whether they're participating or not, like that's a potential thing to think about and could be a flaw in the system, because you need to have someone to be able to support that emotionally, mentally, and for people's trauma. So if you're not, it's kind of like these people might leave and feel like without any support or any understanding of what they just went through. So
yeah,
just to think that.
And we know people who are in the gender minority experience higher rates of suicidal ideation, higher rates of anxiety and depression, and like they're seeing messages like this all throughout their lives. And so campus is supposed to be a safe space where everyone can exist freely.
By the way, that is not true. College campuses entirely are not supposed to be a safe space. She either doesn't know what a safe space is, or our college campuses are fucked.
Their own identities and who they are, and be learning and be talking about these really, really important things within our culture and society. And by walking through this community member that we care about that should be in class today, learning about how to take care of their community and how to support marginalized individuals like themselves and others, can't participate today because they saw that message.
Yeah.
And that's what we mean by harm. Yeah. And honestly, I don't even think adding a question mark is enough. I think it should be more of what is.
Sorry, somebody said, what's a safe space? A safe space is supposed to be an area where you can exist without question in relation to the particular thing that you are complaining about. So like there might be a safe space for domestic abuse victims. Now in a challenging